I hope everything's doing well as we're here to preview tonight's series finale for the Blue Jays against the San Diego Padres. My name's Cody Gaudreault, and this is Flight Deck. Flight Deck's a presentation of Bet365. Check out Bet365's 5-run early payout. When your team goes up 5, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. This is the last game before a pretty big break heading into the All-Star break, obviously. So let's see what the Blue Jays can do on this one. They're coming off of an 8-7 loss in, like, I'll be honest, yeah, the Blue Jays lost. This was one of the better games to watch this season, at least on an entertainment level. Like, I freaking loved watching that game, even though it ended at like what 11:30, I think, for Eastern time. I was a little happy when it ended. Wasn't happy with the result, but at least we could go to bed. But yeah, like now that we have a relatively good, like a relatively reasonable time, I should say, for this afternoon's game. But as we see on screen, the 8-7 loss, the offense was there, but it's a big night to forget for Mr. Trey Yesavage. So let's talk about that before previewing the game that we're about to watch. Yeah, like I said, the offense has started to figure it out in this series, especially. And that's big part of why they went on that 3-game winning streak. And, with Mr. Dragon having all of those success, I feel like that dragon should have a name. Maybe the Blue Jays will come up with one. Let me know, guys. Let's see. Let's see in the chat some name suggestions for that dragon. But yeah, unfortunately for Trey Yesavage, only 1.2 innings of work, and 7 walks. Like we talked on previewing the game before it, how his pitch command hasn't been there this season compared to the playoffs last year, and I mean, I feel like it just completely blew up like that aspect of his game, right? 4 earned runs on only 1 hit, only 1 strikeout, 20 total strikes, in what 59 pitches? Yeah, 59 pitches. He fell behind in the count on 12 of the 13 hitters he faced. And man, that first inning where he allowed the first run, basically walking 4 guys in a row, right? 32 pitches in a first inning is not something you want to see from the guy who's supposed to be one of your more reliable starters, especially with the way Gausman is going now. And we'll talk about that a little bit later as he is starting this game. But credit where credit is due to the Padres. They managed to stretch out the pitch counts. They managed to chase him out off really early in the game, forcing John Schneider to go into that relatively well rested bullpen, which is now that happened. Gausman, is he going to have to go a little bit later in the game? Are we going to see some guys kind of double shifting in the bullpen? We'll have to see a little bit of that, but it certainly a night to forget for Trey Yesavage, and could be an early contestant in one of the worst starts in his career. And I hate to say it, I hate to say it, but even outside of that, at least the offense had his back. It was just 6th inning. You get that extra home run from the Padres, and they just couldn't get it done. But at least he wasn't alone on having a bad game, right? You look at the complete rest of that game. Total of 17 walks in that game. Mako and Fisher each had 1. Obviously, Savage had the 7, 2 for Spencer Miles, and then Buehler for the Padres had 4, and San Diego's bullpen had the other 2. So I don't know. Maybe there was something in the air in San Diego that night where pitchers just couldn't find the strike zone because it, it looked what's that sport in the Olympics called where like you have to walk but it's a race. It kind of looked a little bit um like that, but let's get to break it down. Oh, Dan, I like that. Calling the dragon pop. That's really good. Dan in chat. All right, that's a good suggestion. But yeah, let's get into breaking it down into a little bit more detail. Obviously, in the first inning, the Padres, can I even say that they opened up the scoring because they didn't have to do much, right? You get those 4 walks in a row from Yesavage, and then Ty France, who former Blue Jay, I guess he just wanted to stick it to his old team last night. Gets a sac fly that makes it 2-0, and right then, you go down 2 in the first inning. That's a script we've seen before with the Blue Jays. Yes, it's been better recently, but already, at least I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, not again. But then in the second, you get Kirk gets a double to brings in Kazuma Okamoto. Then Jimenez grounds out, brings in Varsho. It's 2-2. Whew, disaster averted. But you know what? They keep going here, and Jonatan Clase with his second home run of the season already. Brings in two, makes it 4-2. Uh, like in that moment, the Blue Jays go up to, they score 4 runs really, really early in the game. The confidence and the comfort kind of got to me where if the Blue Jays get to that kind of 2-run lead early, historically this season it's a good sign, especially if they score more than those 2 runs. So they score 4 runs early. Yes, San Diego, we've only seen 1 inning out of them, but those 2 runs mostly came off of Yesavage's mistakes and not an overall good batting performance. So uh, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of started to get confidence after that home run, especially on a guy like Clase, who's just been another real cool stories with the Blue Jays. But they didn't let me get confident for too long because literally it, right at the bottom of the second, uh, a 2 RBI single for, I think that's Manny Machado, brings it back up 4-4, back at square one. We're like, holy smokes, what is this game? It was great to watch if you're if you're not a fan of either team because man, already getting 8 runs down in the first 2 innings. Wow. Uh but yeah, then you get to the third, Song gets a 2 RBI single, and then the next inning, Cunningworth gets another RBI single. So now it's 7-4 heading into the fifth inning all of a sudden. And that's just like we said, it's disaster. It's disaster for the Blue Jays. Savage, he came off like during the second inning in the middle of that. Uh, but then we get to the bottom of the sixth, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who he's been figuring it out recently ever since the Dragon got introduced. Pop, we'll call him Pop from now on. Thanks. But yeah, he gets that awesome home run. I wish we could hear the audio because it's an amazing call from Ben Schulman. But yeah, 3-run home run. Uh, it's his second home run in the last 3 games. To put that into a little bit more perspective, he had 2 home runs in the previous 65 games. So he was on like calling it a cold streak is the understatement of the century. So he brings in Clase and Lucas to tie everything up. It's the 6th home run that brought in under the Dragon, by the way. Uh, but yeah, again, they tie it up, and vibes are back to being super high for Blue Jays fans. But then you get to the bottom of the 6th, and it's just that dagger. Ty France again, his 11th home run of the season, takes the lead, and the Padres defense holds on. No Blue Jay managed to get on base after that until the 9th. Lucas gets a single off of Mason Miller, their all-star closer, and then he strikes out Guerrero, Springer, and Okamoto back to back to back to end the game, making this afternoon's game what will determine who wins this series. So let's get to talking about that because I mean, last night's game, as much as entertainment it was disappointing, for Blue Jays fans. But speaking of starting pitchers who you expect to be reliable, the Blue Jays got Kevin Gausman today on the mound. Now he's not he's having the worst stretch of the season, and it's not even close. His season stats overall, he's 4-8 with a 4.32 ERA in 106 innings, 108 strikeouts, a 1.22 whip, and facing him on the other end is Herman Marquez, a 31-year-old right-handed pitcher who's been pretty darn reliable for the Padres this year. Yes, he's had some injury troubles. He's got a 4.2 record, 5.02 ERA, 37.2 innings, uh, 24 strikeouts, 1.43 whip. Now to go back on Gausman, his last 3 games in 17.1 innings, 20 hits, 11 earned runs, 9 walks, only 19 strikeouts. He's 0-5 with a 6.51 ERA over his last 7 starts. uh, 27 earned runs, 38 hits, 17 walks, 42 strikeouts. Look, yeah, it's easy to say it's his worst stretch of the season. I'll say it again. Before that, 4-3 record with the 3.1 ERA, only 12 walks and 69 nice innings. So not what you want to see for Kevin Gausman, but like I said yesterday, never underestimate the power uh, of a bounce back game. His walk rate and his command in general is just not what we're used to seeing from him, especially compared to last season or even early this season. 1.6 walks per nine innings is what he had in his first 12 starts, but over his last seven, 4.1 walks per nine is what we're seeing out of him now. Uh, but yeah, his whiff rate has gone down by about 2 percentage points. He was 28% in 2025. Now he's just over 26%. Uh, or sorry, he's gone up. Like his advanced stats are looking decent. Sorry, so I'm going to repeat that: 28% whiff rate. It's up from his 26% last year, and his 34% chase rate is up from his 31% chase rate he had last year. But he's having trouble hitting the zone. He's hitting it around 44% of the time, where he was hitting it about 51% of the time last year. And his first pitch strike rate, oh my god, guys, dropped from 69% last year to 61% this year. His pitch velocity is also coming down by about a mile an hour. For his fastball. So it's not, you know, something nice you want to see. The Padres too have a history of figuring him out. Fernando Tatis, who has been really quiet so far this series, he hits 500 against Gausman so far in his career. Machado and Ty France are also above 300 against him. So it'll be interesting what kind of game he manages to put up. It's a pretty big challenge for Mr. Gausman, who heading into the season, at least I thought he was going to be the Blue Jays' ace. And unlike a certain all-star starter by the name of Dylan Cease, who we'll get to a little bit later. But yeah, to talk about Marquez, uh, his last three appearances: 13 innings, 10 hits, 9 earned runs, 11 walks, seven strikeout. Seven strikeouts. His last start, though, 5 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts against Arizona. Uh, you know, 32 pitches in the first inning, but after that, he was kind of just cruising until the fifth inning. So, yeah, and like I said earlier, he's coming back off of an injury stint with some nerve inflammation. It's looking like in his right arm. But yeah, only 2 earned runs in 8 innings since coming back. So he's looking pretty darn good. Only 6 walks, two, and all of that. So not bad. Not a bad guy. We're looking at the on the other end. Uh, so he's a guy who struggles so far this season in the early innings. 15 of his 21 earned runs are always coming in either the first or second inning. His first inning, he's got a 6.43 ERA in the first inning of games. Uh, second inning it's a 12.8. So I mean, the Blue Jays have been figuring out starters recently, and he seems like a prime candidate for the Blue Jays to get on early and kind of force the Padres to get into that relatively tired bullpen, even though they are also getting a couple days off coming up. So maybe it won't be as big of a decision for uh, the Padres staff to make there. He's got a four pitch arsenal. He loves his fastball and his knuckle curve, though 60% of the time, or sorry, over 70% of the time, it's one of those two pitches. But he's also got a sinker, a slider, and a changeup that he busts out once in a while. And George Springer is a guy on the Blue Jays who's managed to figure him out a couple times. He's 4 for 9. Sorry about that. In his career, although George Springer isn't playing tonight. Thanks, producer Thanks, producer Thomas, coming back over here. Even on his day off, he's helping me out. What a legend. But let's get to the starting lineup for tonight. Oh my God. Andy, I'm so sorry. I'm seeing Thomas's cursor coming up on our on our live chat. It's producer Andy today, not producer Thomas. But let's get to the starting lineup for the Blue Jays, and it's literally the right line in my notes too. Oh my god, this is embarrassing for me, guys. Uh, but yeah, no no Springer tonight. So leading it off, it'll be Ernie Clement. Of course, he'll be playing second base because Jimenez is back. Uh, for this game, the power hitting is usually what I'm referring to when I'm saying that the bats have been waking up. Thanks to guys like Okamoto, especially. Uh, but I'd like to see them get on base a little more. And obviously, Ernie Clement is a prime candidate to start, leading that category. So he's leading off. Then you got Nathan Lucas coming back, Vladimir Guerrero DHing, third base, of course, Okamoto, Dalton Varsho, Brandon Val- uh, Brandon Valenzuela is going to take Alejandro Kirk's spot. Then we got Sean Keys also making his appearance in this series. He was 4-2 in Tuesday's game against the Giants, so a guy who could usually figure it out pretty well at bat. Then it's Clase and Jimenez wrapping that up. Now to go back to Guerrero, he's DHing instead of his usual first base spot. I don't want to read into that too much. You know, Obviously he's not going to the All-Star game, so heading into a 4-day break, though, I don't know. I thought it was kind of important to point that out. Uh, but I just hope his bat keeps going the way it has been recently because, I mean, Lord knows how much the Blue Jays need it. And yeah, so that's pretty much all of the notes I have here. So very similar in general for what I see. Like you're replacing Springer with Keys, and that kind of messes up the order. But the top 4 or 5 is pretty much the same. And for the Padres, they're going with pretty much the exact same batting order as they did last game. The only swap is Duran coming in to catch. Uh, but yeah, it's the same. Like pretty much Blue Jays and Padres swapping out their catchers. Plus, you got Keys coming in. So for their lineup, you got Tatis batting first, then Merrill, Bogarts, Machado, Sheets, Ty France last night's absolute killer. Then Cronenworth, Duran, like I said, and Song at third base for number 9. So that's gonna wrap it up for the starting lineups for this afternoon's game. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Bats that have been relatively quiet, waking up, waking up in the last 2-3 games for both of these teams. But yeah, keep an eye on the Padres stars because guys like Tatis, like I said, who's been quiet, even Machado, who he's been getting on base, but not too much power, which is kind of the opposite of what we've been seeing this season out of him. Maybe watch out for what these guys can do. But before we wrap up our preview of this game, let's get into some of the storylines that we're seeing today outside of the game, but still for the Blue Jays. It's obviously the second day of the draft today. Blue Jays have about a dozen picks left right now in an MLB draft that will never not be confusing to me. I mean, 20 rounds is pretty darn easy to get lost there, but keep an eye on the Blue Jays Nation website because they keep us pretty well informed with all of those news on that side. But with what we've seen so far, how are you guys in the chat feeling about it? Because like I talked last night about the pitcher they drafted out of Arizona who's looking pretty darn good. But all the other guys, it's magic beans is something we always say, right? So we'll see then. It was also announced this afternoon, we'll see around there, both from Nicholson Smith and Hazel May, that Dylan Cease will be the starter for the American League in the All-Star game. He got that welcome back tribute earlier this week. He's got a 6-4 record, a 2.56 ERA, 1.13 WHIP, 148 strikeouts in 17 starts, 98 innings of work. So it's good to see he's proven that he's the ace for the Blue Jays. Is the most reliable pitcher by far. He like there's nothing to complain about Dylan Cease this season, I think, so far. So pretty darn good there. Also, I mentioned it a little bit yesterday, but just to go into a little bit more details about Max Scherzer. He's expected to make his rehab start during the All Star break, and of course come back to that majors lineup after. And we talked about it a little bit again, but where is he going to be? Is he going to come back as a starter? Is he going to be a long relief man? Is he seriously just going to be there as a player coach? We will see. I hope it's not a player coach because I really do like seeing him pitch, but I mean, the reality is what it is, right? So we'll see with Max Scherzer. My key to victory for tonight's game, as if I'm not talking about the upcoming All Star break enough, is literally for the Blue Jays to just go all out. You you have better, a more well rested bullpen than your opposition. Your bats are starting to get hot, and you got an All Star break coming up. You have no reason, no excuse to not play at the top. That's why I kind of mentioned I want guys to just get on base, And again, I'm looking at Ernie Clement to pick that up, but you've had a relatively recent day off last week. You have 4 days off. Jay's bullpen is a lot more rested. You have Gausman, who again isn't going through like he's going through the worst stretch of his season, but historically has been a very reliable pitcher for you guys. So I don't think that's going to be playing too much into the Blue Jays' mind. And even then, they've been good at getting pressure off of their pitchers. And it's not like you look at Bieber early in this series where there's a lot of uncertainty with his performance heading into it. And I mean, look, just because a pitcher is good, it doesn't guarantee anything. We saw it with Yesavage last night. But the bats have been coming hot, coming into themselves. The power hitting's been there, thanks very largely to Kazuma Okamoto. But I'd like to see them get on base a little bit more. And John Schneider not to be shy, using pinch hitters, using up his bullpen. He's got no excuse not to do that. So that's my key to victory if I am in charge of the Blue Jays. But let's be honest, there is a very good reason I am not. uh, but guess what, baseball fans? There's nothing better than a day at the ballpark. Let's give a shout out to our friends at Bet365. But there's nothing worse than winning in long lines around the ballpark. That's why Bet365 has 5-run early payout. When the team you're riding goes up 5 runs at any point in the game, they'll pay your bet out right then and there, win or lose. No waiting required. Besides, the earlier you get paid, the earlier you can go back for another hot dog. Bet365. Download the app and see what early payouts all about. But remember, must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. And if you or someone you know has concerns about gambling, visit connexontario.ca. Terms and conditions apply. Now, as you guys who've been following up with Flight Deck, you guys know I like to go with 3 bets over here. First one I'm looking at plus 165 is for Ernie Clement to get 2+ hits. I was kind of leading up to that, but I want the Blue Jays to get on base a little bit more, and who better than Mr. Clement to do that? And let's be honest, a walk fest like we saw yesterday, probably not going to happen tonight because that was just something else. Then, Kevin Gausman, I just can't see him, limiting the walks. His pitch command hasn't been there. So I have him going over or getting allowing 2 or more walks. So those odds are at minus 170. So nothing too crazy there. And I mean, that isn't going to stop him from having a good game at all either way. And lastly, I have the Blue Jays scoring more than 2 runs. That's at a plus 360 with what we've seen with their bats going up so far. So you know what? I'm feeling pretty confident. And if you want to combine all 3 of those into a parlay, a $10 bet uh, pays you 46 bucks. So not bad. And, as producer Andy knows that I'm far from the most reliable better over here, but I'm feeling pretty good about these guys. But that'll wrap it up for this afternoon's edition of Flight Deck. A pretty quick episode for you guys, but like I said, we're heading into the All Star break. This is a series finale, so it'll be pretty fun to watch. So just remember that we're live every game day, 1 hour before first pitch, right here on Blue Jays Nation YouTube or on our Instagram pages at Blue Jays Nation. Like I said, my name's been Cody Gaudreault. Thank you so much to you guys for watching. Flight Deck is still a relatively new project, but I'm super happy with the way it's been going so far. And on behalf of all the co-hosts, we're all super happy with you guys watching and enjoying. But yeah, Jays get a pretty long break, which means we also get one. Dan Riccio will be back uh, for the series at home against the Chicago White Sox, and that's starting Friday at 7:15 time for the first pitch. So we will be back. We'll be back live right here at 6:15. But for now, you guys have fun tonight. Enjoy the All-Star break if you're the type of person that likes watching this thing. If you don't enjoy watching the All-Star break, well, you do you. Watch whatever baseball you want. And yeah, we'll see you guys in a bit. Peace.
Thanks for watching the live stream. If you want more content like this, Blue Jays